Hey family, one perfect love. What's up? Jesse Tree here. Hope you're having a beautiful day. I'm having a beautiful day. About to be joined by my brother Oleg. Haven't caught up with him for a while. Gonna make some juice. Just jive. Do usual juicing with Jesse. Weekend juicing with Jesse. Here, let me turn off my jams because that's gonna have ads. And a couple of notes quick before I bring Oleg on. I see he's here now waiting for me. Just wanted to let you know that this weekend we are teaching a permaculture design course, just a basics course for the home gardener, to learn basic understanding of permaculture design. So if you're in the area and you're interested in joining or attending, let me know, drop me a DM and I will share with you the Eventbrite link, and if you're not local and you're interested in having classes in permaculture done online or joining a group permaculture thing, hit me up. I think these skills are going to become ever more important as going forward for us to be able to connect with our land, make it healthy, make ourselves healthy. Also doing group cleanses and individual coaching calls right now, so just want to put that out there. I'm gonna build a juice and show you some herbs, mostly working with this today. Kind of a little bit of white fir. I was in the forest this weekend and I found this, was already down, and these needles are super high in terpenes and vitamin C and stuff, so I'm going to work them into my juice. Also note, it's, I think I let everyone know last time, it's my 3-year anniversary of dry fasting 23 hours a day and juicing for an hour. It's also my 8-year anniversary, more or less, of, it's a little more than 8 years of liquidarianism, and also 1-year anniversary of my lock journey. My lock's growing back, so just want to share. It's fun stuff. So I'm gonna bring on Oleg now, and we're just gonna have a get together. So Oleg, so good to see you, man. Stoked to connect. Let's see here. Here we go. We talk. Let's see. Okay, I tried to let you on here. Oh yeah, there we go. Oleg!
What's up, man?
Blessed love, brother. Great to see you, my friend.
Likewise.
How you doing?
Chimayo looks beautiful, bro.
Chimayo is awesome. It's like I'm stuck to the cord here because after my coach, I did a consult just before this, and so I ran out of juice. But I don't know if you can see out the window there, but it's rainy and windy today.
Over here too.
Yeah.
It's rain.
Beautiful. You're in Albany, right? Is that Albany? Oh, yes, of course. Beautiful.
Chimayo.
And Woodstock. Infamous place. How you doing, my friend? It's so good to see you.
Give thanks, brother. I've been just thriving, surviving, going through the ups and downs, like when we talked a little bit about it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Gotta have the trials to make the triumphs sweeter, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
it's part of the journey.
When the crappy wave comes, you just got to remember that it's a wave and it's going to go away, and then the good wave is going to come.
Yeah, or like, Buddha talks about samsara and nirvana are the same. They're two sides of the same. Like you have a piece of paper, and one side samsara is one side nirvana. It's still the same paper. So, I guess it's our perspective. Where we're at.
I saw your locks growing in. Looks awesome, bro.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, I'm grateful to be growing locks again. It's that whole thing of like I had to cut them
Yeah.
because I just needed to
Yeah.
shed,
And
you
also,
know,
can I get the chocolate mousse?
uh, the trials that I went through with
Um,
my son,
so
and
apple,
you know, after
celery,
that, I just
cucumber,
immediately
lemon
wanted
juice.
to go back because it was part of my connection
16.
with Jah,
If we,
so to speak. It's part of my
but
covenant with a natural lifestyle, natural liberty.
mhm.
So
How do you
there's
feel
a lot
overall?
of
How do you feel?
what
How do you feel overall? Because I remember you went through a little injury last year too, like
um,
similar to me.
I'm yeah, I'm still dealing with like I feel physically amazing, but I still have these injuries that being a landscaper and a gardener, it's kind of like being an athlete where um, it's every day I'm out there, every day I'm making a micro injury over the old injuries, so I haven't really been able to give myself a good chance to heal them up. I do chiropractic. I do a lot of, stretching and things. I take, the right kind of like supplemental, berries are great for collagen, all these kinds of things. But it's just like I know that it's overuse, that wear and tear of overuse. So I'm in the middle of transitioning. I think I told you, to opening an Airbnb and doing more like our classes and retreats and health coaching, because that's where my passion has been driven more toward over time as well. I still love doing permaculture, and I feel like this is a massive. It's all connected. The way we treat the land, the health of the food, the health of our bodies. It's all part of one practice in my mind, you know. But
I think
physically making people's gardens year after year is just tearing my body up. So I got to do more in terms of like helping other people duplicate that work so that we have more of an effect by teaching, by consulting and designing. So it's it's a transition time. I'm accustomed to years and years of working in gardening, and it's a therapy. It's fun, and I'm addicted to it. But I need to let it go.
I've been like studying like different wisdom from different mountain people, like people that lived off the grid and not only lived but lived strong into the hundreds,
Yeah.
like from different region. Specifically, my friend came from the Kafkas Mountains.
Uh-huh.
This is in the Russian southern mountains, and we were talking about a lot of stuff. Obviously, those people, they're not vegan, but they also stay vegan like for a large portion of the year.
So that's the case with like blue zone people across the world, is most of them are not vegan, but they still eat mostly plants. And their portions of meat are very small and very infrequent, you know. So that's more natural to us, I think, in terms of longevity. And there's like, have you studied the Hunza? Have you gotten into studying them at all? The Hunza people?
I've studied some of them as well. Some because there's different Hunza, so there's definitely some them as well. They also most of the year they're plant based, and then
Yeah,
but when the animal dies, they scavenge it and they have a feast.
exactly.
They
Yeah.
honor the somehow through that they.
They use the animals for their land, care, and then if the animal dies, that's what I understood too. Is that's when they will harvest it. If it just dies naturally. You know,
Yeah,
but otherwise, it's mostly like apricots and apricot kernel and lentils and like
olive
really
oil,
rice, olive oil,
kiwi.
apricot kernel oil, which apricot kernel oil has like it's a B vitamin that it's a cyanide in. So it is a cyanide and is poisonous, but when you make it into an oil or a flour, the cyanidins volatilize
Thank you,
and
brother.
effervesce into the oil, so it's non-poisonous. And then you get this B vitamin that's like an anti-cancer, a super anti-cancer medicine. So
Na zdrowie, brother.
cheers. I I just finished a while ago. It'll be a while for me, but Yeah, and I'm making a juice today out of white fir, you know, and, and apples and all that kind of stuff because it's, I really believe that, I was like, well, I know that to be the case. Being an herbalist, all of the all of the medicine is in plants, you know.
I'm sitting right now inside. Besides my ghost kitchen here, this is the only vegan place that is around,
Oh, nice.
and I really like this place. It's called Garden Cafe. So
Uh-huh.
I'm really happy that there's a place like that in town.
Yeah, we don't have many. There's some, but they're really upscale and expensive. And I'll go to get a juice, and like I can make 10 times the juice at home. So I just end up making it home most of the time. But it's nice to go out sometimes. You feel like you can go treat yourself and, you know.
Yeah, I like to. If it is on the property, so there's more brothers and sisters connecting because I feel like we need each other to blossom, even into the like. That's one thing of studying these long centennials is about that they're constantly blossoming through the relationships that they have with each other in the
Totally.
community.
Totally. That actually ends up being one of the more important parts is actually your community and like a spiritual a spiritual sense. So I feel that with you for sure, brother. And it's like we need to like keep these communities alive and nurture them and grow, the new well, it's the old paradigm, but we're not going back, we're going forward, you know what I'm saying?
This is what
We're
we would do is like sit together, reason, make jokes,
yeah,
and get together, and that would kind of like I don't know because there's so many people have so many questions. Meanwhile, when you're sharing, there's less questions but more life.
hmm
When you're
hmm
alone, you constantly your mind is just wandering all the time. Like
yeah, too much, it's like part of the time too is just having that time to quiet the mind and let it settle down and be at peace. It's, we're constantly stimulated and artificially, with money and accolades and social media and various things that push us to do like to move in unnatural ways, you know, and
it's
trying to
certainly
reclaim that, you know.
pushing us towards something.
Yeah, I mean, it's that thing too of like there's uh there's places, that seem artificial, that seem good to resist, and there's things that are natural that are better to flow with, you know. But resistance in general tends to wear us out, you know what I mean? And yet
That's why
there's so
it's
much in the world right now that we need to resist individually and collectively.
it's almost like your energy force is always resisting the environment.
Hmm
So if you develop this strong auric field around you, and I'm speaking for myself too, then you prevent all injuries, you win all the games, you stay on top. And the key is how do we do that? And that's where the study comes in, where it can't be the same way for everybody. Because like my friend that came from the Caucasus, Georgie, from Georgia, he was telling me how they honor the animal and what parts of the animals they ate and all this stuff. And I was thinking about it, like I was like, it got me thinking a lot because I feel like if we could develop this strength, that's what we need to pass on to each other.
100%. I think that is the protection. Our protection is in peace, and it's in our own, it's being in our own uh, knowing, we all have perfect guidance, but we don't listen to our perfect guidance, you know what I mean? And the more we do that, the more we'll be at peace and at strength. And I think it's just like that it's your electromagnetic field that is basically like armor. That's like it's your shielding. And if you're energy body is strong and you're balanced. A lot of the masters say the only thing to master is how to relax. If we can drop into, that relaxed, peaceful place, your brain actually works on multiple brainwave frequencies simultaneously in that state. So, also a state in that rest and digest part, if we get that vagal tone through meditation, through practice, all these kinds of things, and we can intentionally drop ourselves into relaxed states, even in stressful situations, then that keeps us thinking clearly, protects us from making bad decisions, and it also helps us to be more compassionate in that moment, more aware in our understanding of like lessons that we're needing to learn. So trying to get into our peace and power is the way, it's not going to come through some person outside of us, or like, and walking in that peace and just going through the world, we emanate that. That's how we create a new reality. We don't even have to like change anyone's mind or anything.
What's amazing is that a lot of those people in those areas, like that I was started to talk about, they don't have any guide. They just intuitively know how to function in a way that
Mhm.
that makes them strong, And obviously, we all go through injuries, but the type of injury that you had or I had, where my shoulders got ripped out and then like my knees got ripped out, those are, I think, definitely having to do with our like food that we eat, the grounding force that we have, and versus like what we believe to be the reality versus what is the reality. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah, and there's usually like an emotional, energetic like root to any injury or disease, I find. So, even something that like I use my right arm a lot because I'm right-handed and I dig, and that's still related to like an imbalance somehow, that's causing an injury, that at its root, sort of emotional component, you know. And so trying to take a look at myself and see what that is, and also align with the herbs that are gonna, I'm working with a lot of silica rich herbs, and a lot of nutritive herbs and collagen building, kind of herbs and things that will promote my body's ability to create that stuff. But some of these mechanical things, they just kind of linger with you. If I did a lot of skateboarding, snowboarding, all that kind of stuff, and it's just like when you're young, you don't feel it, and then you get older and you start to feel it. I think we can live youthfully our whole life, but as we get older, we have to be a little more guarded about those kinds of things. We can't be as like brazen as
Well,
we were. And,
there's definitely solutions. Like the what I was using was the acoustic waves,
yeah,
but I also wanted to, because I was like 5 years like fully plant based, and I wanted to see how I would feel. So I had some bones that I scavenged from my like my grandmother made, and I made some broth and I made some gel from them, like 3 days, and I was drinking that, like I was like microdosing it.
mhm.
And I felt amazing. Like I felt so good. It didn't make me go like I don't want to continue to go like eat all that stuff, but it did make me value and appreciate this sort of like our ability, because it is a superfood in a way, if
Well,
you treat it correct.
I totally feel that. My training through Chinese traditional herbalism, they focus on a plant-based diet, vegetarianism, veganism, but they think of meat as a medicine for certain like injuries, or mal being malnourished, where you need to build. If you need to build body parts, you can make them best out of body parts. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's that same thing in herbalism of the law of signatures, where like ginger is good for your digestion, and it looks kind of like your gut. It's all kind of
Yes.
convoluted. You know,
Sour sop is like a
so
little. It looks like almost like a
precise,
cell,
precise.
and it
So everything
rebuilt
I'm
your
just trying
cell.
to tell you.
what it's good for. So if you need to rebuild, you know, body parts, sometimes you need body parts. I'm not been resistant because my values with ahimsa eating are so high. But, I may have to bend to that at some point. I'm gonna feel it out. I don't feel that way yet, but
But
I think
the,
mostly I need to back off on the throttle with all of the manual labor.
uh,
you know, it's good to
you
move
have
your
to
body.
feel it.
It's
Every
a thing.
person,
Sorry, what, bro?
feel better, bro. It's like you have to feel it for yourself to try. That's why I was like, because first of all, what we eat is philosophical. Second of all, it's like, yes, you want to do good, and it's like we could do good, but we also have to be strong. So some food like blueberries can make you very strong, but so can some parts and some the bone, the marrow that's in the bones.
Mhm.
It's undoubtedly it goes right. It has its own purpose, and it's like the cycle of life. It's not saying like go eat burgers every day, go abuse animals, put them through the grinder, sell McDonald's. But there's an ancient way that they would live in harmony with everything, you know.
And to not be dogmatic, to be open to using whatever you need to do to heal, because you are also deserving of being well and at peace, and healthy and happy. So whatever, and from my Buddhist perspective, they were preferentially vegetarian, but they would eat meat because they were living off alms, and I live amongst a lot of native people near me, and a lot of my friends are native, and they treat the animals in that way, where they deer dance and they pray to the animal. They use everything from tip to tail. They use,
Yes,
it's like,
honoring the cycle of life. Also, you could say like we could be more like simpler, like scavengers and gatherers instead of hunters, almost. Because
yeah.
hunting with scavenging would be so much easier. It's done for us. Life has its cycle, and you use everything just like us. We're gonna go back to the ground, and the fruits are gonna use us to taste better.
Yeah. And it all jives also with like the breatharian concept. The Notima talks about how we're mostly fruitarian, but if you look at all of the other frugivores, they eat a little bit of like this or that. Most of them will eat a little bit of meat in the form of like, even just like termites or,
Yes.
something like that, but primarily fruits, and he talked about how if you look at native people, for instance, who like in the Inuit in Alaska, who lived almost completely on meat because there was almost no herbs and no plants in that area, you know. Um, they had a different relationship with it, and our bodies are so adaptive. There's something called the body's vital adjustment, where like we can adjust to heroin,
Yeah,
but
it's true. But like I said, you have to feel it.
yeah,
That's why it was like
word,
after about 5 years fully plant based, and then I had the experience with experiencing with bone broth, and pretty much like it really helped me out a lot to heal. I went from healing a whole year to healing within a few weeks.
yeah,
So, and I know how I felt, and I know how my focus felt. So it's like, yeah, I don't want to hurt other sentient beings, but I know what it's like to be strong, right, in life and focused, and there is energy from food that will give you that power.
and there it's that thing of those bones are going to be tossed out anyways,
Yeah. Yeah,
unless they're
that's what I do. I
unless
scavenge them
they're
for my dogs, and I also slow cook them for like 3 days, and then it turns into a gel. And
yeah,
then just I take like 1 spoon of that, and I do that once. I don't know, maybe once every couple of months, and everything else is like plant based. But the difference is crazy. Like I'm out there hooping with these 18-year-old kids for like 5 games, 5-5, bro. Like it's it's a different. It's definitely something to it where it's like we probably been traumatized so much, people who are vegans and plant-based, that we want to do so much good, we don't want to hurt anybody, and it's confusing because we have lost ancestral knowledge of how actually to apply our love to animals and live together, you know. Whereas,
Yeah, and really to get the focus back onto balance and health and off of the diet wars and the identification with diet. And I healed my teeth. You know, I've been raw vegan since 2010. But early in my journey, you know, I was eating a lot of agave nectar and unsprouted nuts and stuff, and I was, you know, wearing holes in my teeth. And so I had to take. There was probably like 3 months maybe where I took salmon and goat's milk kefir and high vitamin butter oil, and because a lot of those vitamins that go to your bones are fat soluble, and you need high vitamins and you need the right saturated fats to actually be able to build bone, and that's also connected with like building your hormones.
yes,
So there's been a
it's
lot of vegans, you know, who have adopted, you know, even just taking in like raw milk or egg or doing bone broth or something that like they only have to do it for a short while, but it gives them the healing they need to go and then go and
yes,
continue their journey, you know. And that we need to, as a community, be open to that and to dissolve also the friction in the diet wars, realizing that people who are into keto, carnivore, what have you, they're just seeking healing through natural health also. You know,
it's all a
they're
balance.
part
The key is like the commercial machine of providing lower quality products based on this massive chain of abuse. Like that's where it comes into where it's important to, you know,
industrial
raise their
farming.
awareness, you know.
Industrial farming of vegetables is just as violent to the land as industrial farming of animals, and both of them are poisonous to land and people. And so what we need to do is, because that's the other thing they're doing, is creating division so that we're fighting with each other, you know, where we need to link up, you know, and be like, we want to care for the earth, we want to care for our families, we want to take care of health. And, you know, I'm going to give you the dignity of your choice, you know, and stay in my own lane and choose from my value set and my, you know, my inner guidance and my body. And, you know, I want to empower you to do the same and to get away from an unnatural pharmaceutical industrial system that is, you know, dragging the whole planet into
You
death, you know.
you could literally cleanse yourself just going like plant based for a week and clear out
Yeah,
so much toxins. Use berries, use all the superfoods, but I feel
green.
like the balance and harmony, and I still haven't found it because I'm like, you know, I want to have my own farm. I want to honor the animals properly, and you know, but at the same time, it's like I realize I'm not perfect, and I just have to go with the flow. How it's going, just make the best of that because, like this
Yeah,
roots culture, I know how I grew up, and the ancestors that lived with us, and we don't have that anymore, and many families are cut off from that, and I feel like that's what my purpose is to rebuild it, to repurpose it, to restructure this thought process, you know, through music,
yes,
through art, through philosophy, you know.
yeah, and natural living, a natural lifestyle, a natural economics, because what we live in now, there's so much that pushes us to be focused in that realm that we can't focus on our spirit or on creativity or on art, you know, because people are just grinding, you know. So to get off the grind and to be, you know, how do we re-envision our economies and our lives and our families to be honoring of our nervous systems and our natural health practices?
You're
So,
good, bro. You're
hey,
good.
there's Nabiha. Hi, Nabiha. What's up, sister? Good to see you there.
I have a drum. He's a drummer for very good drummer. He's like local.
Nice, nice.
We're
I
doing
can't
it
quite
right
hear
now.
it.
Well, you get straight, no alcohol, you come through my studio, no problem. Anytime, bro. Anytime. You have to. You have to try it. You gotta get the drug from the main source. It's a challenge for you.
Take go.
It's a challenge.
That's awesome. Nice. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, let's do it. See, this town is filled with like genius people, like real deal. This is where.
Huh.
What's up, bro? We're gonna have a bass. I have a bass player coming. I have all the stuff. This is my brother Jesse from New Mexico. You can say hi.
Yeah, oh, that's just a gay guy girl.
No, he's a man. He's not a gay man.
Thanks, man.
I don't.
Alcohol inhibits your ability
Yeah,
to process.
yeah.
David,
Cool.
I'll talk to you later, bro. Jesse, check this out. Look at this. This is like the center of Woodstock right here. It's
Mhm.
called the Green. And this is pretty much where the, the Woodstock Festival, it originated from this place here. And then they moved
Huh.
it to Bethel Woods. But the gathering, this is like, it's been taking artists and musicians for a long time already to come up here. They would grant musicians to stay, and this developed this amazing hippie culture here.
Huh.
Very deep roots hippie culture here.
Yeah, yeah. That's cool.
But yeah, you just got to stay away from alcohol. And for me personally, like after doing my peyote ceremony 2 years ago, if I even touch like this, even kombucha, like even a little bit of alcohol, I get sick for like a week. I can't
Mm-hmm.
do it.
Mm-hmm.
Can't do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When I on my raw journey, at a certain point, it just left me. I was, just starting to make changes, and meat left me, and alcohol left me, and I didn't even have to try. It just like I was uh, eating all raw, but I was still drinking like sake, like at special occasions and stuff. And I went to
Nice.
this special occasion, it was Christmas, and I drank my sake, and I just remember being lower and not higher. Um, so I was like, what am I doing? And that was it. And I haven't touched it since.
Yo,
I do have
what's
it in
up,
my
bro?
tinctures, but that's about it.
You gonna pull over?
Hey, well,
Jesse, check this out,
yeah,
bro.
okay.
Can't see it.
I can see. Oh, what am I seeing? Nice, bro.
I got
Got, you, got your knees back.
Jesse. Let me. You gonna be live for a little bit longer? How long are you gonna stay on?
I got to jump off. I got to get ready for work tomorrow.
All right, brother.
But
I'm
it's good
gonna
to
run. I'm
connect
gonna see my
with
brother.
you.
I haven't seen in a while, and
Cool.
love to catch up with you soon again, bro.
Yeah,
Big love, big hugs.
good to see you. Good to see you, Oleg. Love you,
Always,
bro.
always.
Peace.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was nice to catch up with Oleg. He was very distracted, but that's okay. He's like having fun doing his thing. So, yeah, I'm gonna kind of wrap up. I don't know if any y'all want to jump on real quick, Nabiha or anyone. I'm gonna jump off in just a few minutes, but wanted to. I had a bunch of things that I was gonna kind of like hit today, but I think we pretty much hit them. The things I was offering, the classes, the coaching. An interesting conversation with Oleg there. concerning, health and veganism. I'm definitely on the ahimsa path. That's what, brought me in, because I just had this massive change of heart when I started eating plants. I just, I'm a Aries triple, or actually I found out I'm like a quintuple Aries. And so there's already a lot of fire in me. So alcohol, meat, all that inflammation, that brings out the like, and I'm trying to go the other way with things. It's more healing for me to embody the, allowing a little bit of that feminine vibe and, the cooling, relaxing energies. So, you have to, base it on your dosha type and stuff. But like I said, I did have to lean on salmon and goat milk kefir. It was probably about 10 years ago now, because in my early raw journey, I just wasn't hip to sprouting and like the right kinds of sweeteners and stuff. So that's the kind of stuff I offer and help guide you through if you're interested in transitioning to raw or just transitioning your diet. Like we were talking about, I'm open to working with anybody. I work with people who have been on carnivore or whatever. I'm not preferential to vegans. I definitely love my vegan community and I'm totally happy to serve there. But, it's this thing of like, what's going to be really more helpful and healthful to everyone. And, a little bit of a thread that was coming through our conversation was like, the reliance on plants, but, occasionally you may need these, medicinally used meats or something like that. And to just not be closed off to it. The same is true of medicine. I had a teacher, Frank Cook, who was an amazing herbalist, and he got trichinosis traveling abroad. Something was washed with some stuff, or I forget how it happened, but he refused all treatment except for natural treatment, and he died. He left a giant hole in his community, and like he could have just gotten to the hospital and then cleaned up afterwards. So we have to be guarded, in these times when the pharmaceutical medicine and, unnatural foods are pushed on us so much. But, to be open to just doing what's necessary to heal. That's what I want to help, facilitate. So if I can do that for you, let me know. To wrap up that thought, Iltnotima talks about us being fruitarians and that, native people who ate meat, they were strong and vital, more so than when we started working with grains, because grains are really hot, demineralizing. They tend to acidify. They tend to, be difficult to digest, so if we stay more towards fruits, vegetables, and meats, if that's what you're called to. But like I say, that's not my value system, but I totally respect if that's yours, and I'm happy to help. So, those of you who are meat eaters, something that may be helpful, or even if you're just trying to move to raw, try the fruit to four technique. That was something I was going to talk about today, where you just lean on fruit until 4 o'clock. And that can be juices, that could be smoothies, that could be raw fruits, because their fiber is really good for your prebiotic. Get proper absorption going on. That will give you some cleansing, some electrolytes, some, H3O2 waters. And then after 4, you kind of do what you want, and, of course, you want to stay away from highly processed foods and, junk food and fast food, but whole foods, mostly plants. And if you keep that window, that can really help you a lot. So hope that's helpful. I guess that's all I got for today. Sending you all the blessed family. Hope you got something from this. One love. Be well.